topic that I'm going to discuss is the product of a binomial. Product of a binomial. A binomial is a polynomial with two terms. A product is the results you get after. In getting the product of a binomial, we have this very easy method called. Here's an example of a product of a binomial. First step is multiply the first term. 3x times 5x is equal to 15x squared. Second step is multiply the outer terms. 3x times 6b is equal to 18xb. Third step, multiply the inner terms. 9b times 5x is equal to 45xb. Fourth step is multiply the last terms. 9b times 6b is equal to 54b squared. Last step is combine like terms. 18xb plus 45xb is equal to 63xb. The final answer is 15x squared plus 63xb plus 54b squared.
I am about to discuss the topic about sum and difference of two terms. We will solve the problem a plus b and a minus b. To solve this problem, the easiest way is to use the FOIL method. First, we need to multiply a times a, which would be a square. Next, we need to multiply a times negative b, which would be negative ab. Next is to multiply b times positive a, which would be ab. And lastly, we need to multiply b from negative b would be negative b squared. We need to combine like terms. So since they have different signs, we need to subtract. Our final answer would be a square minus b square.
Square of a trinomial. The topic that I'm going to discuss today is about the square of a trinomial. First step, square the first term. Second step, square the second term. Third step, square the last term. Fourth step, twice the product of the first and the second term. Fifth step, twice the product of the first and the third term. Last step, twice the product of the second and the third term. Final answer, a squared plus b squared plus c squared plus 2ab plus 2ac plus 2bc. Final answer. Or another example.
The topic that I'm going to discuss is about the square of a binomial. Here is an example of a square of a binomial. By doing the easiest step or method, these are the steps you need to follow. Step number 1. Square the first term. The answer will be a squared. Step number 2. Twice the product of the first term and the second term. And the answer will be 2ab. Because when you multiply 2 with the first term, the answer will be 2a. And that answer, when you multiply it to the second term, the answer will be 2ab. Then the last step. Square the second term. The answer will be b squared. And the final answer will be a squared plus 2ab plus b squared.
The topic that I'm about to discuss is about the cube of a binomial.
Here's an example of a cube of a binomial. Now, in solving this, we just have to follow the 4 steps. The first step is to cube the first term, so that will be x. Now, the second step is to thrice the product of the square of the first term and the last term, so that will be 3x. The product of that will be 3x squared. Now the third step is to thrice the product of the first term and the square of the last term, so that would be it would come out like. Now the last step is to cube the last term, so that would be 1. Now the final answer will be x cubed plus 3x squared y plus 3x y squared plus y .
The topic that I am going to discuss is about this is an example of a mononomial function. The first step is get the JCF of this. The JCF is then divide it to each. Then divide it to each square.
The topic that I'm about to discuss is about sum and difference of two squares. Let us solve the problem x squared minus 36. To solve this, we have to find the GCF of both terms. Now, finding the GCF means to simplify. To simplify, we will come up with x plus 6 and x minus 6. Since the square root of 36 is 6 times 6, that would be our final answer.
I will be discussing about factoring trinomials. Here is an example of factoring trinomials. Now, the first step in solving this is to write all the factors of the last term, which is 8. We also have to consider the negative factors. So, the factors of 8 are 2 times 4, 1 times 8, negative 1 times negative 8, and negative 2 times negative 4. Now, the second step is to identify which factor pair would add up to the middle term, and that would be this one, because if added, it would come out as 6, because it would satisfy the middle term, this one, the middle term, this one. The next step is to write the binomial factors, so it would look like this. Now, if you would want to check whether the binomial factors are correct or not, you can just multiply the two binomial factors and make sure that they are equal to the example given. So if you multiply this, that will be x squared, x times 4, that will be 4x, 2 times 6, that will be 2x, and 2 times 4, that will be 8, and if you would combine the like terms, that will become out as 6x. So it's equal to the example given. So the two binomial factors are correct.
Perfect square trinomial. Today we are going to discuss about the perfect square trinomial. First step, get the square root of the first and the last term. Here is the square root of the first term and here is the square root of the last term. Twice the square root of the first term, and then multiply it by the square root of the last term. Multiply it both and we will arrive at the answer of 24x. It means that it is a perfect square trinomial. Another example,